Hi guys, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would finally film my birth story Q&A. What are you doing below? I put a Q&A box on my Instagram a long time ago. Harlow is 4 months old now and I've been meaning to do this video since she was born pretty much. So yeah, I got a few questions, mainly just asking what this birth story was and how the birth went and the pain threshold of the birth and everything like that. So I thought I would just go through the birth story and then answer the other little questions at the end and try not be too long. So yeah. Okay, so my birth story was my waters broke, which apparently is actually not as common as you think. Like in the movies and everything, you always see the water break and then all blah blah blah. Apparently it's not that common, so I did not expect for my waters to break, but I was nearly 2 weeks overdue, and the Tuesday morning, Tuesday the 15th of November, my waters broke in the morning, and it wasn't what I expected. Like I kind of expected it to be a lot of fluid and kind of no, my water just broke, you know. But I kind of got up to go to toilet. It was probably like 6:30 or something. Jake was about to go to work. And I got up to pee, and as I was walking down the hallway, liquid was just falling out, and I actually thought I peed my pants because it wasn't so like heaps of fluid, it was just like trickling out, which might be TMI. But anyway, I got to the bathroom and it was actually like just clear, and it didn't smell like pee or anything, and I was like, did my water just break? And I wasn't sure because it wasn't a lot of fluid. Anyway, me and Jake like googled it and rah, and then I called my midwife and said, I think my water's broke, and she kind of asked what colour and everything, made sure everything was okay, and she said, oh, just see how today goes, see if you go into more active labour, or just see if I start getting contractions. So Jake called his dad and said he's not going to go to work, and spent that Tuesday just going like having contractions here and there. We went for walks, we walked the dogs. It was just pretty exciting, really. I wasn't nervous, I was just really excited to finally maybe not have to be induced, because I was 2 weeks overdue. I was about to have to get induced, and the midwife said to me on the phone the Tuesday morning that see how I go today, I'll go to the hospital and check everything tonight, and then if things are all good, I'll just wait Tuesday night, see what happens, and then get induced Wednesday morning. So anyway, to the hospital that night, they checked everything was fine, so they sent me home. We went to KFC, and then that Tuesday night was like the longest night of my life, because it was like contractions were like semi-strong, but they were really close together, but not close enough together to go to the hospital. So I was just up all night, every 4 minutes having a contraction. Jake was up with me for a lot of it, just timing the contractions, and then we said, oh, he might as well just go to bed. So he got a bit of a sleep. I was walking around the kitchen, like breathing through. I was listening to this like hypnobirthing meditation thing and just breathing through the contractions, which I think I was doing a really good job at. Like there was no secret that giving birth was one of my biggest fears, and like I didn't want to do it. I don't have a high pain threshold, like I don't like pain, so I thought I did a really good job of just breathing through the contractions. But anyway, I went in the shower, like the warm water helped a bit, and yeah, so I didn't really progress any more than that until the morning. So we had to go to the hospital at 6 AM in the morning. So we got there 6 AM, and the first thing they told me when I got there was, we're very busy, might not get the quickest care, and blah blah blah. And that is not what a young first-time mum about to go into labour person wants to hear. Like I was freaking out. Like I was thinking, what if when I'm on the epidural they can't get to me? What if something goes wrong and they can't get to me? Like it just wasn't what I wanted to hear. And I was strapped in and my heart was getting monitored, and when she said that, the machine started beeping and they're like, oh, do you have COVID symptoms, or and I'm like, no, you just told me like I might not get help and I might not get good care, and so I'm like, my heart's racing. So that was, yeah, that wasn't nice. But so they were busy, so I was supposed to get induced at 6 a.m. I didn't get induced until, it says here, 11 a.m. and I just got the inducing thing where you just get a little syringe of this liquid up to 6 times in one day, depends how much you need. And I had my first dose, and yeah, so because I was induced, which I didn't want to be, but you know, I had to be because my waters broke and everything, I was strapped to the bed for a lot of it because I had to be monitored, my heart rate monitored, the baby's heart rate monitored. So I was going through contractions and everything on the bed, and that is not a comfy position to be in, to be having contractions. Like, I just wanted to stand up and walk around and maybe even get in the bath, but I could only be unstrapped like every, like, I'd have like 45 minutes at a time off being monitored and then get back on. So when they did take me off, I'd go on the ball and whatnot. I had my birthing combs that my friend lended to me, and I'd squeeze those. So yeah, the contractions, from what I remember, I was able to breathe through most of them easier than I thought. Like, it was painful, and it's hard to explain the pain, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. Like, I feel like I went in with such a mindset of it's going to be like just awful, you know, and the worst case scenario, and that kind of helped me, because when it wasn't that, it softened the blow. Like, you know, like, it just wasn't as bad as I thought, if that makes sense. It was bad, but it wasn't as bad as I thought, and I was able to breathe through them, squeeze the combs, use the gas. So they checked my dilation soon after I got to the hospital, which, by the way, people just skip past that part. Oh, they checked my dilation. That was like one of the most painful parts, in my opinion, was like getting checked the dilation, like, because Harlow's head was so low, she had to go around, up and around her head, and it was just like, oh, really painful. Anyway, they checked that, and I was 3 centimeters when I arrived at the hospital, and to be honest, that was a relief, because we were like, oh my gosh, what if they check me and I'm only like 1 centimeter after a whole night of labor and only being 1. So it was kind of like a relief when she said I was 3. So that meant I just had 1 more centimeter to go till I could get the epidural, which I wanted, because not because the pain was like I was screaming and couldn't bear it. It was just I'm just more like, oh, if I can not be in pain and get epidural, like, I want to do that. So I was waiting for to be 4 centimeters before I could do that. A few hours went past, and I had another dose of the little syringe, and by the way, it just tastes, it's just like a little bit thick water. Like, it doesn't have a bad taste or anything. A few hours went past, I had my second dose, and they checked me, and it had been like quite a few hours later, and I was only 4 centimeters. And so it took like 5 hours to go from 3 to 4. So that was a little bit upsetting, because it was like it just felt like it took forever to just go up 1. So obviously that's when I asked to get the epidural, because the contractions were getting closer and more painful and less of a break between them, and I was getting exhausted as well. After that, they came and gave me my 3rd dose of the stuff while we wait for the epidural, and they put me on a drip because I was dehydrated or something, and yeah, so they put me on a drip to get fluids. And once I got put on that drip, that's when it went from whoa to go. I guess that's the moment that things got more intense. Contractions were pretty much like on top of each other, like really close together, and way more painful. Like, the whole time I didn't really make noises or anything. When this started, I was kind of a bit more vocal. I wasn't screaming. I knew I wouldn't scream, but it was more like, yeah, I don't know, I was a bit more vocal when this started to happen. Checked where Harlow was, and she was a bit like, not in the right position, so they gave me like this peanut ball thing to put between my legs and lie on my side, which was also not a comfortable position to do labour, I guess. I didn't love that, but it did work and she got into a better position. And so yeah, this was all, the contractions were getting more intense, and then like 20 minutes later my body started to like bear down, and like each contraction, like I couldn't help it, but my body like pushed on its own. And I was saying to which was a really weird feeling, but I told them, can you check me because I feel like I'm pushing? And they're like, nah, it's only been like 20 minutes or whatever, you only be, if anything, 5 centimeters, you're still at 4. So you know, we think they didn't think that I was progressing because of how I wasn't screaming, or I think they judged the situation on you and how you are. And I think, yeah, I don't know, they just didn't think that I could have gone up that many centimeters in that time as well. So yeah, less than an hour had gone past since the last check. I was at 4, and since I had started pushing without trying, they're like, okay, we better check before we give the epidural. And so she checked, and in 1 hour I went from 4 centimeters to 9 centimeters. And the midwife looks at me and she's like, yeah, sorry, no epidural for you, like you're gonna be pushing soon. And I was like so upset, because the one thing that I wanted for this birth was to get an epidural and not feel the ring of fire and not feel tearing or anything like that. I just wanted the epidural. That was my birth plan. So I was gutted. Yeah, so not only because of the pain and all that, it was actually also the thought, like, how long is this going to take? Like, I could be going through the night again like last night, and I just don't want to, even though it's too late to get epidural, which supposedly means I'll be pushing soon, but in my head I was like, how long is soon? Like, is it in the morning? Like, am I going to have to go through this all night? And it really freaked me out. But yeah, so yeah, when my body started to like push and she realized I was like 9 centimeters gonna be pushing soon, she got me up off the bed, told me to walk to the toilet and kind of do a few pushes on the toilet, because apparently that's a better position. And yeah, so in my opinion, the actual pushing part, because I didn't have epidural, my body was doing it on its own, it wasn't painful. Like, the contractions were actually less painful from what I remember when my body was pushing, because it was kind of like doing what it's supposed to do, I guess, and it wasn't so painful from what I remember. I think it was more painful waiting to get to that, and then once I got to that and I was pushing, it wasn't as painful from what I remember. So I did a few pushes on the toilet, and then she got me to move back to the bed, and it was a total of like 40 minutes of pushing, and she finally came out. And so pushing without an epidural, which was my biggest fear, wasn't actually that bad. I didn't feel tearing, I didn't feel the ring of fire. All I remember was like being exhausted, and like it was really tiring and kind of painful for my abs, like just pushing really hard. So yeah, so total of 40 minutes pushing, then she came out. So yeah, like I said, the pushing was the hard part. My t-shirt that I was wearing came out dripping wet with sweat, because it was just like the most biggest workout I've ever done in my whole life. And when she came out, I felt all the rest of the fluid came out. So may I just say, my waters broke. From the moment my waters broke to giving birth and she came out, there was fluid dripping from me that whole time until she was out. So I was wearing nappies, adult nappies, until she came out, because it was just so much fluid. Like, if I put pads on, there's no point, it's just gonna go everywhere if I don't wear it. Yeah, so I just wore adult nappies this whole time. When she came out, the rest of the fluid came out, and she came out, and it was like an amazing feeling, if I'm honest. Like, it was just, all this pressure was gone, and like, yeah, it was just like, whoa, is how I explain it. And they put her on my chest, which was also so surreal, like holding her, because for some reason I was in a little bit of denial, and it wasn't till that moment when I was like, oh my gosh, I have a baby, like there's a baby on me. And Harlow was on my chest and she like did her cry, put her on my chest, and then like put her head up and looked around, and I was like, I don't know if you're supposed to be able to lift your neck yet. So yeah, it was finally real. It was an amazing moment. We got photos taken as a family. They put her on my boob and I fed her for a while, and she latched on really good from the start, which was amazing. And the initial shock and adrenaline wore off and I felt something quite sore down there, and I had done a second stage tear, and they had to get 2 different people to check the tears to make sure it wasn't a 3rd degree tear, which was front to back. And so it must have been pretty close because they had 2 people come and check, which honestly, from what I remember and how I remember it, that was the worst part. Like I cringed thinking about this part, and my legs were up on those things, and which when I was pushing they weren't up on those things, in case you're wondering. My legs were just, I was holding my legs actually. And then yeah, when they checked the tears, they got those leg things and I put my legs up and they checked the tears, and it was so freaking painful because I didn't have any pain relief. I just had gas, which I can talk about the gas later as well. But anyway, they were like shoving towels or something in there to stop bleeding, but also checking the tears, which were internal, so they really got in there, and it was so painful, and I was pretty much kicking them in the head like, stop. That was the worst part, honestly. And they decided, okay, it's a second stage tear, so they wanted me to go to theatre to get it stitched up. So we had a couple hours of family time and skin on skin with Harlow, and then they took me off to theatre and Jake looked after Harlow, and they stitched me up and took me to recovery. And at that point it had been like 2 hours without Jake and Harlow, so I was starting to get a bit like, I just want to get back to my baby, and my heart rate was playing up again. So they were like, oh, we'll just keep an eye on your heart rate for a little bit longer. And I was thinking, just get me back up to Jake and Harlow and then my heart will be fine. Like, I promise you, that's why my heart's racing. But anyway, everything was fine. They took me back up and Jake and Harlow were asleep. And also, may I just say, I'm referring to her as Harlow, but at the time we hadn't named her. We didn't name her till the day after she was born. And I've been filming for like 18 minutes. Sheesh. Okay. Yeah, so that's basically the story of the birth. A lot of people wanted to just know about the pain, and the pain, like how painful was it, and the real pain experience, and the pain rate from 1 to 10. And it's been 4 months now, and so obviously it's wearing off from, like, my memory. Even though I wrote this down quite soon after the birth, my memory's kind of fading a bit. I do remember not wanting any more kids for a good few weeks after she was born, so it must have been pretty painful. I think mainly it was just exhausting and the fear of unknown. The actual contractions, I could breathe through them, listen to the hypnobirthing thing and just breathe through them and know like they're only gonna last this long and then you get a break, and just it's a real mental game, I think. And I would have thought I'm the least person that could do a birth without epidural, and I did it, and I'm amazed that I did it, and I'm sure so many other girls watching this who are gonna give birth or in the future and are worried about it don't need to be, because if I literally did it, like, I'm sure most of you guys could too as well. So yeah, I'd say it was painful but obviously rewarding, and you get something out of it and you can breathe through it, and the main thing was it was just exhausting and I was scared of the unknown. One of the questions, did you get epidural? Why not? I wanted an epidural, nothing against epidurals. That's all I wanted was an epidural, and I couldn't get one because it was too late. But I wanted one. I think I can hear Harlow waking up, so I'll go get her in a sec. Okay, so I just fed Harlow and got her up. Say hi. Say hi. Who's that? Okay. We were answering some questions. Did the comb method actually work? So the birth comb birth combing is what she's talking about. I had one actually. My friend let me use hers and I'd say it did work. Like, it was not obviously going to take away the pain, but it does distract you, it gives you something to do, and I would freak out if I didn't know where my comb was, so obviously it was very important to me in the moment. And then so the comb is what I use for pain relief and gas. I started using the gas after a little while I did quite a bit of it without the gas, and then I was like asking them, can I use the gas? And they're like, oh yeah, sure, it's just here. So they didn't tell me I had to ask for it, even though it was right there. Anyway, I don't think it actually worked. Like, I didn't get a head rush. Like, Jake tried it, don't know if you're allowed, but he tried it and it went straight to his head. For me, I felt like it wasn't working, but yet again, it was a distraction, something for me to bite down on and just breathe in and hope that it was doing something, and it must have done something. It just didn't feel like it was doing much, because when they were checking my tears afterwards, like I was talking about, I used the gas and it fully went to my head and made me all dizzy and everything. It must be because when you're in labour, there's just so much going on, so much pain, so much everywhere, that it's like going to all these different places doesn't feel like it's doing anything. Whereas when Jake used it, he was in no pain, so it just went straight to his head. That's what we thought of it. Anyway, did you have a birth plan and did it go how you wanted? My birth plan was literally just, I didn't have a birth plan because I know they never go to plan, but I did know that I wanted the epidural and I had no problems asking for that. Obviously that didn't go to plan, but I went in open-minded and I didn't want to have a set plan and then be disappointed when it didn't go to plan. I really didn't want a C-section, obviously, but in my mind I was like, if it happens, it happens. That's the mindset I went in with, and that's what my midwife suggested as well. Did you poo? Don't answer, but I had to type it. I don't know. Like, honestly, I don't know, but I'm assuming I did, and I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did. They obviously don't make a deal of it, they just wipe it away and whatever. Jake probably knows because he was watching. He hasn't said anything. But you're using the same motion, you're pushing so friggin' hard. I'm not going to be surprised if I did, and I'm not embarrassed if I did, because flippin' heck, that's like hard work and you're just pushing really hard. Hey, we're nearly done. General labour story and all the, rate the pain from 1 to 10. I guess 10, like it's the most painful thing I'm going to experience. But being someone that was really scared of it and not keen to do it and hates pain, it wasn't that as bad as I thought. I will say that, and that sounds silly because it's so painful and a 10 out of 10 pain, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. I didn't feel the ring of fire. I thought I would without epidural. That's why I was pushing so hard, was because I didn't want to push, get her to her head there and then stop pushing and it just be stuck there and get the ring of fire. So I just pushed, and that's what I think caused me to tear, because I wasn't listening to the midwife saying, okay, slowly, slowly. I was just pushing, but I didn't feel the ring of fire, which I'm so grateful for. Like, that's what I was scared of mainly, and I didn't feel the tears when I teared, which is also amazing. I think there's just a lot going on. I was worried about her because her heart rate dropped a little because she was kind of stuck in the birthing canal, and so she was freaking out a little, I think, and so I just wanted to get her out, so I just pushed as hard as I could and quick. I'm so grateful I didn't need like the ventouse or the forceps and stuff. Like, in the moment I was like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. Looking back, I'm like, it was a pretty good birth, pretty normal, which is what you want, nothing out of the ordinary, no interventions, no C-section and no epidural. But I didn't get the epidural while giving birth, but I did have to get a spinal in when I went to theatre. So I ended up with numb legs and a catheter anyway. So Jake had to do a lot of the nappy changes and getting her for me to feed and everything the next day because I was still numb and scared to get up with the stitches. I was so scared, honestly, and I was scared to have my first shower, and I was scared to go to the toilet, but once I did have a shower, it was, yeah, I felt so much better after having a shower and getting up, but I was just a bit scared too for the first day. I think I had my shower the second day in the hospital. We stayed 3 nights in the hospital. The night she was born at like 7:50. We stayed that night, the next night, and the night after, and we chose to because we had our own room, so it was actually quite nice just being there together, having the nurses there if we need, which we did. We asked so many questions, got so much help, and they give you like this pee bucket that you have to pee in so they can make sure you're peeing enough before they let you go home, and I found that helpful to just stand up and pee in that. Wasn't as scary for me as sitting on the toilet, you know, with stitches and everything, and so I did that even when they didn't need me to pee in that bucket anymore. That's just how I peed while I was at the hospital. You know, you just find things that make you feel comfortable and not as scared. What's been the hardest and easiest part of postpartum? Hardest part, I don't know. I feel like the hardest part was probably just the fear of the unknown. Like, I think that's a me problem. Like, I was just scared of the pain more than what the pain actually was, like of the stitches and everything. They did just heal on their own and dissolve, and it was fine, but I was kind of like a little bit scared of the pain, and just sitting down and standing up was probably scary and a bit hard, but you know, it wasn't bad. It honestly wasn't. It was worse than in my head than what it actually was. The easiest part was probably peeing. I had a Peri bottle in case, and you know, from when after got home from the hospital and I was going to toilet normally, didn't sting or anything, and so that was good. That was like something I was scared of, and it was quite easy, just pee normal. Going number 2 was quite scary and has been a tricky part of postpartum as well, without going into too much detail for you. Yeah. How many kids do I want in the future, and will there be a name theme? We want 2. Depends how it goes and financially and everything. I'd happily go up to 4. I'd happily have 1 child. I'd happily have 4 kids. Jake wants 2, so we're just going with 2 at the moment. When I first gave birth, I was like, yep, you're an only child, no more siblings for you. But obviously now it's been a while, I'm happy to get pregnant again eventually, probably kind of close in age, maybe like 18 months or so. And a name theme, no. We had no idea what to name her. I saw Harlow on Instagram a little while ago. I liked it, Jake liked it. We couldn't agree on anything else. So the day after she was born, we were like, okay, Harlow, it's cute, it's not very common. And so yeah, there wouldn't be a theme. I have no idea what I'd call a boy. I have no idea what I'd call another girl. Her middle names is my grand's name and her grandma's name. So Jake's mum's name, which is Yvonne Janine. How long after birth before you named her? The next day. And what were the knickers about? I think what she means is someone was asking, my friend's mum asked what were the knickers about. She's referring to the nappies, because I posted a photo of me in the adult nappies, and I mentioned before it was because the fluid from my waters breaking, there was just so much fluid, and I was like, I don't know what else to do, I don't know what else to wear. They were really handy. They were just like pull-ups, just put them on, and yeah, I used them after postpartum because of bleeding, and then slowly the bleeding went down a little, and I just used normal like pads or whatever. So that's what those were about, and they were quite comfy and really handy. I would recommend wearing those, honestly. And the rest are just like the birth story and the pain and rah. So that's about it. It was really rushed because I have only got one memory card and I feel like it's going to run out of space very soon. So I was rushing a little. Don't know if I covered everything, don't know if I answered everything correctly, but I wanted to get this video done and so I could upload it. If you have any other questions, write them below or send me a DM or whatever. And yeah, I can make another video about newborn stage or postpartum, like more in depth, if people want it. Otherwise I'll just probably upload a vlog sometime soon. Not really sure. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, say thanks for watching. Yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.